Hello friends, hope you're doing good. So let's go to our next video. Last time in our previous video, we mentioned, we told you that in this video, we're going to go through the conceptual understanding of Six Sigma. Let's go to our next slide. Right. So let's start with a small story. What is the definition of culture of excellence? This is an old story from 1980s about Ford. We all know Ford and Mazda. We also heard about Mazda. So it's about joint venture in between Ford and Mazda to produce a transmission. So you know, Ford and Mazda joint venture to produce a transmission. So they entered into a joint venture to produce a transmission. The transmissions used in each model were based on the same engineering drawings and the same specifications. Curiously, the performance of Ford produced transmissions was resulting in poor transmission performance, higher warranty returns, and customer complaints, whereas Mazda saw higher performance, fewer warranty returns, increased customer satisfaction, and greater success overall as a business. Now the question is, why is that so? Everything lies in the definition of excellence for both of these great companies. What caused this difference? The tests were performed to evaluate the transaction. Yes, mechanical engineers knows about transaction, mechanical automobile engineers knows about transaction. So very briefly, we'll just go through the definition of it, and then of course we will get back to our case. The transactional combines the transmission, differential, and ancillary systems around the axle into one integrated assembly. You will usually find transaxle configurations in cars where the engine is placed at the same end of the car as the drive wheels. So that's transaxles. So the tests were performed to evaluate the transaxle microfinish produced by each company, both of these companies, Ford and Mazda. The difference explained was the way that each car company defined the culture of excellence or defined the culture of excellence. Ford employed the definition of excellence as compliance with specifications, where Mazda defined excellence as performance on the target with minimal variation. This is the big difference between the culture of excellence of both the companies. One company was focusing on meeting the specifications. Another company was focusing on not only meeting the specification, but performing on the target with minimal possible variation. Ford once joined hand with, with Mazda, changed their industrial excellence policy, and since then they changed it to on the target with minimal variation, and rest of history. Companies that doing the best, whether it's a FMCG, a bank, a insurance, or healthcare, or manufacturing, even construction, they are definitely striving hard to provide products or services to their customers with minimal variation. That's the difference between good and great companies. Good companies always focus on meeting the specifications, where great companies always prefer not only meeting the specification, but meet it with performance on the target with as minimal variation as possible. Means, in other words, on the target every single time. That's about the excellence. Now let's go to the next aspect of Six Sigma, introduction to the DMAIC. Now what is DMAIC? DMAIC, D-M-A-I-C. DMAIC is a methodology through which we deploy Six Sigma. So let's very briefly understand it because we are going to go through all these 5 phases in detail as we kept on as we keep on moving ahead. So right now, just introduction about DMAIC. So what is DMAIC? In DMAIC, D stands for define. So what we define what is the problem. Then M stands for measure. So we measure how deep is that problem. And analyze, we analyze the potential and significant causes behind the problem. In improve phase, we provide solution to improve the performance of the problem or fix the performance of the problem. A performance which really got halted or impacted by the problem. And in control phase, we ensure to control the improvement, or in other words, we ensure to sustain the improvement so that the same problem will not reoccur again. So that is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, DMAIC. Of course, as I mentioned, we'll see DMAIC in much detail in upcoming videos. Let's go to the next slide. Now let's understand the history of quality and Six Sigma. Well, the history of or the current history of the quality, lies with these two gentlemen, W. Demings and Joseph Giron. Of course, there are many others as well who contributed, but these two individuals, these two stalwarts, were actually the forefathers of quality. Post World War II, they went to Japan and they helped establish Japanese industries with the emphasis on quality. So quality control, quality planning, quality assurance are kind of blessings they have given to Japanese industries, especially Japanese automobile industry. And rest is the history, as we all know. So this is the contribution of these two great gentlemen, and without them, we simply cannot talk about the history of quality, for that matter, history of Six Sigma as well. So these two gentlemen actually blessed industries with their abilities and expertise in late 40s. By the time we reached to early 80s or mid 80s, Motorola introduced another concept called Six Sigma. Now, there was this gentleman, Bill Smith, who was a statistician working with Motorola. He introduced this concept. He invented this concept of Six Sigma. And Motorola started deploying Six Sigma, and the result was almost on a consistent basis on a consecutive years. This company, this electronic company, won Malcolm Baldrige Award, which is the award for excellence given in US for the companies. Now, when Motorola started receiving this award consistently for consecutive years, the rest of the company started realizing something is different happening at Motorola. And then they realized Motorola invented, through Bill Smith, of course, Motorola invented Six Sigma. So GE, Allied Signals, these companies somehow took the initiative and they invited Bill Smith to their organizations to talk about Six Sigma, how they are deploying, what is the concept of Six Sigma, how they are deploying it, how it is helping improve the performance, all those things. The visionary CEO of GE, General Electric, his name was Jack Welch. Unfortunately, quite recently we lost him. But this gentleman is remembered as the best CEO of last century. This visionary gentleman, who was doctorate as well, he realized the potential of this concept and he took a decision to deploy Six Sigma across his organization. And when I'm saying across his organization, GE was, in fact, today also, is not one company, it's a conglomerate. It's a huge umbrella under which there are n number of different subsidiaries. So he ensured that every single subsidiary of GE deploy the concept of Six Sigma. And I'm talking about early 90s or mid 90s by that time. Many of his investors questioned him how he could invest into Six Sigma. But he persisted with his decision, and by the time it reached to 1997 annual report, he showed the benefit of more than $2 billion, and the whole world was astonished to hear that Six Sigma helped to achieve that much of benefit. Second instrumental thing happened was one of the subsidiary of GE named GE Capital, which is a financial services institution. They also successfully deployed Six Sigma. So prior to that, Six Sigma was considered for manufacturing companies, but when GE Capital successfully deployed it, the whole service industry realized that this concept is applicable to service industry as well. Now, by the time we reach to early 2000, last to last decade, even service industry, the banking sectors, insurance sectors, they started utilizing this concept of Six Sigma. So manufacturing industry, service industry, and quite recently, when the agriculture industry also started utilizing. Why not? Because when you're talking about meeting your customers' expectations every single time, wherever they are customers, of course, in every single business, they are customers, right? So wherever you have customers, you have to meet their expectations and you have to meet their expectations consistently every single time. And in all those situations, Six Sigma is going to be of great help. And that is why every industry, irrespective of whether it is manufacturing industry, service industry, agriculture industry, they started utilizing it. And Six Sigma started spreading its presence across different sectors. That's about the history of quality and Six Sigma in a very nutshell. Let's go to the next slide. This is quite an interesting slide. This is we are reaching to the slide of conceptual understanding of Six Sigma. So let me read it out for you. Sigma is a Greek letter assigned to represent the amount of variation or inconsistency in a process. Six Sigma reduces the variation by controlling it. Now, how you're going to control the variation? You have to measure the variation. And what is the metric we use to measure the variation? It is called standard deviation, SD. It's the metric that measures the variation. And SD is denoted by sigma. And that's where Six Sigma comes into the picture. Six Sigma is a statistics-based problem-solving technique that reduces the variation by eliminating defects. So it's not like we never had any other problem-solving tools before Six Sigma. But Six Sigma came up with a new way of scientific foundation through statistics. And that's where Six Sigma is different. So how we use statistics in Six Sigma, we're going to look into that. We are also going to see what tests we are going to use to solve the problem in upcoming videos. So Six Sigma ensures that the business performs, or the business performs within client expected performance range. So when client expects something from us, client want us, the client give a certain target and then some range, a buffer range plus minus this range, right? So Six Sigma ensures that every single time a performance is within that range. E, B, it should be, it is closer to the target value with minimal possible variation. So can you recall that Mazda case, on time with minimal variation? Exactly, Six Sigma focuses on that. It ensures our performance is within client given specification range every single time. Not only that, but on the client given target, not only that, but with minimal possible variation. This is about Six Sigma. We will continue the concept in upcoming video as well. But for time being, this is what we have. Thank you so very much for your time. Have a great day. Bye for time.